Hi, this is Ken Gidge, and this is Gidge World. And believe it or not, the very first show here at Access Nashua was Gidge World, and the very first guest was the former mayor, Bernie Streeter. But we do not have Bernie Streeter tonight. We have Dick Gagnon, and he has been running Access Nashua for the entire year. How you doing, Dick?
Good, and you, Ken?
I'm doing very, very well.
Thanks for having me on.
1 full year.
Well, really, it's
Little
a
over a
year and a half now.
Isn't that something?
Yep.
And we were the very first show.
Yes.
Inside studio.
Inside studio. Very first locally produced show here in Nashua.
And you were on it.
I was a special guest.
Yes. You're special. He who runs the cameras is really special.
Yeah, I tend to try and stay behind the cameras, but you really kept the pressure on tonight to have me sit in.
Well, yes. It's been 1 year, or a little over a year. I mean, this is the holiday season. You have come a long way. You were running 2 TV stations, access stations, weren't you?
Yeah,
when you first came here?
For the first year, from July 1st of 2010 to June 30th of 2011. I was part-time here, getting it started, and then I was part-time in Goffstown running that one, which I'd been doing for 17 years. But it was nice come June 30th of this past year to be able to give my notice in Goffstown, and I'm now here full-time along with 2 other assistants, Dan Young, who does training and some post-production work, and Chris Gentry, who also does post-production work. So we have a real nice team here this year.
Well, that's good. And the station, to watch it, as we were talking just before we went on the air, obviously we've come a long way, because that first show was, I'm not saying it was a disaster. I mean, Bernie Streeter knows what he's doing, but I had to learn a little.
It was a good show for the first show, and, our lighting wasn't the greatest, and, some of the
sound was a little
sound
off.
and whatnot. Sure. It was, I won't say rough, but it was an interesting first 3-4 months getting settled in and getting everything set up for the rest of the hosts to enjoy. How
in the world does one put together an entire TV station? I know you know how to run it, but what did Nashua have to do to get it? First they had to vote for it, they had to get the money, but what basically did the equipment in here cost? Do you have any idea?
Oh, I don't know the cost of the equipment. Luckily for me, the studio was set up.
Okay.
When I got here. It had been a few years that had been running just the education and government coordinators were running the studio and everything. So the public came along, and we're now good friends with education and government, and we share the location and works very well. But when you're talking a studio of this nature, you're talking, and I'm going to guesstimate, but $200,000 for all the equipment and the build-up and everything.
And the lights. I mean, I don't think people really understand. We are really under lights.
Yeah, the lights are expensive.
Yes, and they're warm. You can get warm under them.
Well,
you got your shirt on. So.
Well, these are actually cooler than what they were when I started 15 years ago, where you were under the lights and it was hot.
You've watched this, you've been doing this for 17 years, so you have watched the access stations grow throughout the state, well, actually probably through the United States, but Access Nashua, and the first show I said, Nashua's first again for being last, because we're really almost the last city in the state to do it. But you've watched all these stations and the whole industry grow. Explain that just a little. How hard, easy?
What you'll find in New Hampshire here, and it's really the same across the country, but what you're going to find is cities and towns that have either PEG, which is the public, education, and government channels, or you're going to have just government, or you might have just education and government, or I'm trying to think if there's anybody that just has public alone. But the majority of them will have PEG, all 3 channels. It took, from what I understood from yourself and others, it took a good 13 years to finally get someone at City Hall to put it in the budget. And again, I credit Mayor Lozo for finding the budget to put it in, because it's not part of the franchise agreement. So it has to come from the city budget. And, you know, last year it was a 1-year trial. So we had to prove ourselves, as well as not just us, but the people like yourself had to prove that you really wanted
That we're going to do
public,
it week to week. And
that there's an interest in it. And after the first year, she put it back in the budget again. And I'm happy to say that one of the aldermen actually tried to remove it from the budget and during the budget process. And I'd like to thank her for making that motion, because we ended up finding out what kind of support we do have. And it was a 13-3 vote against her. So,
who are the 3 who voted against it? No, you don't mention. I know one is Shaheen, I think her name is, and I think I know who they are. But
yeah,
in fact, I asked them to come on.
Right.
I've asked them all to come on, and which I didn't know. They didn't want to come on because they didn't vote for the budget. It never occurred to me that if they came on to talk about the city, because they are aldermen and aldermen at large, to talk about the city, that I would even bring that up.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wouldn't, not that that's a professional or unprofessional thing to do, but I just wouldn't do it.
Right. Right. And you know, in the year and a half that we've been here, we haven't had really any shows where the host or guests started attacking other people, you know, verbally or anything. You know, sure, there's differences of opinion and what people feel, but nobody's been, you know, rude or anything.
Well, I started out in radio, as you know, and Ed Lecious was my sort of my mentor, my boss, and he said in radio one of the worst things he's ever done was hire me. But one thing that Ed was very clear about is a language, which is very important, even though you can say a lot on radio and you can say a lot here on Access TV, more so than anywhere else. I won't do it or wouldn't do it. And also the fairness clause, which just went away, which you didn't have to be fair. But Alicia said, no, you're going to be fair and realize that this is really important. And so that's how I learned radio and now into TV. But when you say people have not stepped over some barriers, that's pretty good.
Oh, it is good. For a city this large, you know, I'm very happy that we haven't had any issues to have to deal with. As far as equal time, the way public access works is it's equal access, okay? You have the right to come in and do your own show like you've been doing for quite a while. It's a year now that you've been doing shows. And everybody else has the same opportunity. It's equal opportunity. Now, you could have a Democrat on this show, and you don't have to have a Republican on the show. Okay? Now, one of the shows you do...
I happen to be a Democrat, and we had a Republican, the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Then it was Ms.
Right,
O'Brien.
but you also do the Art of Politics.
That's right.
Which is a Democrat and a Republican.
And nobody does that.
Right, right. But you also have had, you've seen how you've been...
I beat up poor David.
Not fully accepted as far as, you know, trying to get guests on. It's tough.
That's
know?
factual. When I started the show off, I just wanted to interview Democrats. And Democrats are fun, but you got to get some action going back and forth. So we tried Dave Robbins, and he came in for 1 week, and then the second week. I think on the 6th week, I walked in, and basically he was part of the show, and it was certainly all right. And we've had some raucous moments.
Well, like I've told you many times, as a viewer, somebody on the other side of the camera here, I don't want to sit there and listen to two people agreeing about everything and only giving me one side of the story. I liked it when, David came in and you guys discussed, and I got to hear two different opinions, and it helps me make a better decision. Because many times I hear like Republicans talking, and that makes sense. But then later on, a Democrat will come in and do a show, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't think about that. So it's good to have that interaction.
And that is basically what public access to a big degree is. Not just politics, but from gardening, from cooking, from music. We also we'll be doing more art shows, art sales. Yeah. We'll be doing art shows here. Also, hopefully, the Art of Politics will continue. David is sort of missing in action. But
David seems to be committed to keep coming in and discussing with you the current issues going on. You'll be able to give him information, not him, but the public, information of what's going on in Concord, and he'll be able to question you about, why are they doing that?
Oh, I have a feeling he will.
Yes.
Yes. Now, David is a Republican. He didn't make it. I always say he's just taking 2 years off. He'll be back.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. But now he started in already with me last week about our new governor coming in, Hassan, and how she's going to either raise, taxes or do. I mean, he's already fighting. She's not even sworn in yet, and he's after me.
No, but he reads the paper. He sees the news.
He is educated,
and he sees what she's saying and other people are saying, and so it gives him,
Yeah, but
good things for you guys to
sour
do.
grapes too.
That
sour grapes too.
Let's talk about sour grapes.
All right. Now, sour grapes is the Republicans lost, the Democrats won. So sour grapes, the Republicans are mad, upset. You've seen interviews with, you do this. How do they feel?
I mean, they're frustrated.
Without giving your opinion, you're not going to give your personal opinion. You're just going to tell us.
I mean, they're frustrated because they worked as hard as you did and everything. They worked a lot harder than some of the candidates who did win, and yet they lost. And as it was 2 years ago, when the Republicans overly dominated the election.
Supermajority, which is not good. We'll talk about that.
The same thing happened. It was groups of people that really were polarized and showed up at the election booth, Now, the sad part is that we don't have more people voting,
We had a lot of people voting in Ward 6.
We have a lot of people voting.
I think we broke the record for Ward 6. There was a lot of people.
But what was that? Probably 27% of the voters?
No, I think we were up well over 50, possibly 60%. We were really, Ward 6 was very, very busy.
Now, see, we'll have to go check that statistics
Because I make
out.
these statements, and Richard goes, you make these statements, but you don't back them up. No, he'll be the fact checker.
Right.
We will put this little thing, I'm sorry, Kenny, but you're wrong.
It wasn't.
You're wrong.
But even if it's 60%, it's still
not enough.
Why isn't it 70, 80, 90% of the people?
I know why. First of all, we have to start, this is my opinion, we should have one day during the weekend, like a Friday and a Saturday to vote. we need 2 days at least to vote. There are people who leave Nashua at 6 o'clock in the morning
Oh, yeah,
to head
don't get
into
home till
Boston.
8, 9.
They can't vote. That's not fair. Getting an absentee ballot is not the easiest thing in the world to do. You just don't.
Oh, it's easy. I've done it twice when because I'm on vacation usually at that time.
But will they send you a ballot? I mean, if these people are really busy, they can't even go down and get a ballot.
Yeah,
will they send you a ballot?
It can be mailed to you. It can be mailed to you, and then you fill it out and seal it, and nobody else can return it. You either either you have to personally bring it, or it has to be mailed, because I wasn't even allowed to deliver my wife's back.
You had to put it in the mail.
Town hall. I had to put hers in the mail, and I delivered mine because I go there often.
Well, yeah, I think. Well, okay, I think that's fair, but I think we should have 2 days of voting.
I kind of like the idea of 2 days. I'm not sure budget-wise I would, I would like that in my town to.
Oh, okay, you're from.
I'm from Goffstown.
Goffstown.
So
okay.
it's smaller.
Okay.
18,000 compared to 88,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So the expense of an election over 2 days. But here in Nashua, where there's so many people and everything, you ought to put that in as a bill. You ought to submit it as a bill.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have time I can do that, but I will put that, I will call Monday to see if I can do that. I can do that over the telephone.
Right.
They could write it for me there. Because when we go to legislative services, we have an idea for a bill. We just walk in, and usually, because they put the legalese and they do all the research.
Right.
So
now, I believe I just saw today that the election committee chairman is Representative Karen from Nashua. Is that his name, Karen?
I don't know.
He's been 30-something years.
No, Cody.
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 David Cody. He's the chairman of the election committee. So after this show is done, you ought to call him.
David Cody, yes.
And say, hey.
He's been there, I think, the longest. I think he's going on 30 years.
Yeah, he was up there. I remember he was recognized on December 5th. He was recognized as one of the long-term legislators.
Yeah, really long-term.
Yeah, it was like 30.
He's one of those guys who doesn't seem to get into too much politics. That's probably why he's well-liked.
He's quiet.
He's quiet, but he just does his work and does his job, and he's head of a committee, and I mean, he's Democrat, but everybody likes him.
Now, the only thing I got to wonder is,
here we go.
Is he wealthy or what? Because he doesn't seem to be that old, and to be a legislator for 30-something years at $100 a year before taxes.
Right.
I don't know how anybody can
and
afford to do that.
David is handicapped, so to get rides is very, very important. But for your information, I believe he does research for all sorts of people and businesses. So research
so that's good.
at home on computers.
So it's on his own. He can flex his time.
Right.
Because, I know a lot of you guys from being up at the House, because I volunteer myself to videotape Wednesdays, the House and Senate sessions, and stream them out. And this year, my company is going to be doing additional meetings.
Will you be
committees?
The committees. Will you be doing the Senate at all? So you do.
We do the Senate.
You do the House. You do the Senate already.
We've been doing the Senate for 3 years and the House for 3 years. The sessions. What we're hoping to do is gather some more volunteers to help us out and cover like every Senate finance meeting, every House finance meeting, and then randomly other ones that are of high interest. Like today, I was over at the Rules Committee because today was the day where they voted.
And I wasn't there, so I didn't go. You filmed it, so you tell me what happened in the Rules Committee. What has changed?
There were a few grammatical changes and stuff like that. Nothing important there. But then the major changes was that they removed the two committees that were set up 2 years ago. One is on the Constitution and what do they call that? but it's a Constitution Committee that Speaker Bill O'Brien, if there was an issue with a bill that people felt was unconstitutional, it would go to that committee and they would investigate it and decide whether it was constitutional or not.
Now, did this have something to do with judges?
No.
They were not happy with the judges?
No, that's the
All right,
redress.
okay. All right, go ahead.
So that Constitutional Committee was eliminated. Then the other committee that was started 2 years ago, after like 100 years of not being around, was the redress of grievances. And that's where people like myself who aren't legislators could file petitions because they felt that they were there was injustice with them in some form of government, okay, whether it was the courts or whether it was one particular case because they were in here as guests on a show.
AVOD, I believe.
Kevin
did,
Avad does a
yes,
show called Speak Up.
Speak Up, and he did a lot of that.
He did a lot of those.
Was he on that committee also?
Yes, he was on the committee.
Oh, okay, all right. So you
And-
got a lot more information than I got.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, well, you could get the same information if you watch the shows, which are available on accessnashua.org. You go to our video on demand, and you can see all of our shows, past Gidge Worlds, past Art of Politics. You name the show, we have them up there. That was just a little plug.
I'm glad you're saying that because that is factual. You can go and get any show that you want to. Literally, you can go and you can access it, take it out, and look at it. Matter of fact, I had a friend from Boston who did that and commented on how interesting it was.
It depends which one of your shows they
Well,
they
usually,
watched.
well, we try to make it exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, the
Yeah.
regress. So
the redress of grievance committee was abolished.
now, was
by the
Avad
rules-
upset about that? Who did a lot on that?
Him, along with probably 20 other people that were in that hearing, specifically to actually be able to talk to the committee to give them their reasons why they feel the committee should continue on. However, the Rules Committee said at the beginning that they weren't going to be hearing any public comment at all.
No public comment?
No, there was no public comment allowed. They were just going to discuss amongst themselves, which at the end of the meeting, there were a couple state reps, Representative George Lambert from Litchfield and Representative Al Baldessaro from Londonderry, who did stand up and address the committee and mentioned how they thought that wasn't the best idea, not to allow public comment concerning the rules changes. So anyways.
It was the best idea because a lot of people would have gone up, and it was a good idea to keep these meetings in a manner civil because I know there are a lot of people who are very, Baldessaro representative is one of them, who can get very upset about particular things. I think this was just one of them he just wanted to keep.
Sure, I agree with that, but that's no reason to silence the public.
Oh, well, I happen to agree with you.
Yeah.
I happen to agree with that because
But
I've
that
had
was
some
their choice.
problems. Yes.
And so, supposedly, legally, they have that right, so, that's where it stood. The other item that was had more discussion. Now, keep in mind there were 10 members on the committee that were there. I don't know if there were any missing, which I don't believe there were. There were 10 members, 6 Democrats, 4 Republicans. Speaker Norelli is usually the chairman of that. However, she had a schedule conflict, and she appointed Representative Shurtleff, who's her, I forget, he's majority leader or something.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
There's
yes.
so many of those titles,
Yes,
I don't
yes,
remember which.
I believe he is.
Yeah, so he took over the meeting, and he ran it very well. So the other really discussion point was the turning back the clock again to 2 years ago and abolishing carrying of firearms by representatives or anybody in the public, concealed weapons.
Making it illegal?
Making it
An offense?
an offense to the rules.
Okay, so in other words, if I don't happen to carry a gun, but I know a lot of people who did.
Right, Republican and Democrat.
So if they were carrying one and no one knew, they're in no trouble. But if they got caught, what would happen?
You know, they
Slap
can get,
on the wrist?
They can get sanctioned, as well as there was the word arrest.
What do you got to fire them or
Yeah,
$100 a year?
that was part of the discussion. You know, what's the result of it? You know, but the whole discussion really centered around, you know, the State House is not equipped to monitor or check anybody.
That's correct.
So when it comes to guns, you know, there are laws that say you can't do this or that with a gun. However, criminals don't care about laws, and they're going to do it anyways.
Well, I have a feeling there will be representatives who will be carrying guns inside the State House.
Concealed, I'm sure.
Concealed. Oh, no, absolutely.
And they have permits.
And they have permits, et cetera. And they have a great fear. And we'll talk about this for a moment. Okay, what happened in Connecticut with the murder of 20 children and 6 teachers. If a teacher had a gun, probably could have stopped this. Because my wife was a teacher, and we had this argument, really, no guns in school.
Right.
All right? So until the cops got there, this kid kept shooting. So the idea is, should teachers, if they are registered and licensed, should they carry guns in schools? No, and I don't mean a gun that you can see. I'm talking about something that's concealed that nobody can see.
Right.
It's the same thing to the State House.
These are discussions that everybody is having since that horrible day in Connecticut.
I believe that the teachers, if they want to carry a gun, should carry a gun, period.
And I'm of the same opinion, as well as, to me, there should be 3, 4, 5 administrators, well-trained, you know.
Yes.
Or have extra police there.
Yes.
You know, the sad part is, you know, we're talking first grade.
Yes.
You know, this was a first grade class that was brutally murdered.
But let's go over that for one moment, because I think this is important. First of all, we're talking about Goodtown, is it called? Or
Newtown.
Newtown, I'm sorry.
Newtown.
Newtown, Connecticut. And the parent who had the gun had permits. And from what I understand, it's very difficult to get permits, so she had the permits. I don't know where the guns were. The son got the guns.
From her, he lived with her.
Right.
And they were in the house. You know, now, I mean, again, it's sad to say that he killed his mother first. I mean, this is a real tough subject, because if a parent in this situation and was still alive, to me, they are culprits as well. For the son to be able to get the gun as easy as he did, you know.
Well, we don't know. It could have been in a safe. The kid could have had the combination.
That's true.
Found the combination. Could be a whole bunch of things. But one thing, I was talking to people of Health and Human Services about this, because I have a bill where it hasn't been written up as of yet, but for every gun there'll be $10. The buyer will pay $10. The seller will pay $10, and then it will go to Health and Human Services to get beds, to put beds for mentally ill people, because this kid was obviously mentally ill. But the guns were bought legally. He went to the school door was locked, he took the assault rifle, shot the window out, and walked in. Before he got to the kids, he ran into 3 people who he killed. At this particular point, if you're a teacher or an administrator, and you're carrying a gun, something is concealed that nobody else can see. No, people don't even know you have it. And walk out on the hallway and know what's happening at that particular point, I think things would have been obviously a lot different. But this kid was crazy, mentally ill. I mean, I think we will agree to that.
Yeah. I mean, I think anybody that can do that has to be mentally ill. Now, what are the reasons for the mental illness? Because of all the stuff in the papers and stuff that we've all experienced as far as bullying, in schools, kids that are bullied in school, out of school, but then also adults that are bullied, and I'll say bullied.
It's true.
In courts.
It's true.
One of the things with the Speak Up show, we've had a lot of fathers and a couple of grandmothers and a couple of mothers who were on the show who have been totally alienated from their kids, and seriously, for no reasons, no criminal reasons or anything. And I got to tell you that you can get people so
mad, right on the edge, ready to break. And
Thomas Ball is an example. He's the gentleman a couple of years ago that burnt himself on the steps of either the town hall or the court in Keene. I forget where it was, but he lit himself on fire and died. And it was because he was at his wit's end with the family courts and whatnot, and not being able to see his kids. And,
there's something wrong with that. When there's a divorce, it's quite interesting. I think my son went to UNH, and there was a men's group, one men's group at UNH, and so he went to one of the very first meetings. And this happened to be a group of lesbian ladies went in and broke it up because they didn't want to have any men's groups on the campus of UNH. Now, I'm saying that because men have some particular problems. Prostate cancer is one which we've talked about. Women have breast cancer. Prostate cancer is something that is worse than when it started out as breast cancer. It's really bad. We need help from women. So my point is that men have to start, stepping up to bad, and have to start talking about kids, and the judges have to start looking at it as men are parents also. And when you are, let's say, come home and your wife is gone and the kids are gone and you can only see your child once every 2 weeks or something like that, that's awful.
Some of these fathers, it's been 3 years. One father that I saw today, he was a guest before, came up to me with his little daughter. After 2 years of fighting the court, this past November, he finally got custody of his daughter back. And, she was like probably 4 or 5, probably 5 years old, maybe 6.
I didn't know how this conversation was going to go, but I think this is...
Neither did I.
No, but I think this is really important to talk about for at least for another 5 minutes, and that is that we know what happens when women, we've seen a lot of this. We do see what a lot of men do. But mental illness is something that goes right down the line, both men and women, but it seems that men are the people who walk in and start shooting.
Right. There's only, I think, been two in the last, I don't know, I think I read 15 years, two women that have done horrendous.
So what is the reason, what tips that scale? And I think that as a man, yourself also, we have to learn, we have to find out why. If these are the people who are doing this, and these are the people who are the serial killers, all men, what is it? What gets us over that edge? And I guess we started this conversation with Connecticut. What got him over that edge? Actually, we started this going into the State House with guns.
Right. Yeah. And to me, the discussion that was had at the Rules Committee today, I mean, they were publicly telling people that, the legislators are going to be defenseless. We're not going to check for guns at the doors. I'll tell you.
But
if it wasn't for the fact that when I'm there with my camera, I'm up against the wall of the gallery, and
yes.
if there was any kook that was up in the gallery,
yes,
they wouldn't be shooting straight down like that. So that's the only thing that makes me feel comfortable there.
Oh, that makes me feel really comfortable.
Right.
That he's saying this.
Because Ken sits to the right over there, 5 rows down.
You could see me because I'm always, standing up and walking out. Okay, but having said that, I know that there are representatives who will carry guns.
Oh, there will be.
I know that. And,
they will be.
And we talked about this once before about putting detectors up at doors.
Right.
Well, we have 4 doors in the State House, okay? And they're really important doors. All of them are important doors. There's none that you could really get rid of because of the way we work coming across from the LLB building, coming up.
So it's more than 4 because you have that tunnel.
Oh, the LLB building.
And you have the tunnel to the Secretary of State's building.
That's right. Oh, that's right. So
Is
here
there
we go
a
again.
tunnel from the LOB?
Yes.
Oh, I never found that.
You haven't. Well, all right. I'll
have to show me.
I'll take it to you.
It beats going out with my camera in the rain and stuff.
You've been. Oh no. We'll help you get through that tunnel, but I know what you're saying. What you're saying, quite simply, is that they say you can't carry a gun, but they're not going to check everyone at the door.
I walk in every Wednesday during session with a big long bag that has my tripod, a big black case that has my camera, not a peep, not a, can we just check or anything, nothing. My tripod bag.
It looks like a gun case.
Yeah, except it's cloth.
I'll tell you what's really interesting to me is that the conversation has gone to the point where we're talking about bringing stuff in ourselves when other people could potentially bring stuff in. New Hampshire, live free or die, that type of attitude.
I'm not.
How can you protect anyone?
Exactly. We can't protect these kids in the school.
Let's say we had 2 police, right?
We do. There's 2 state police that are in the hallways.
Yeah, travel, 4 floors, 3 floors.
4 floors, yeah.
Yeah, but anybody who came in with an assault rifle could walk right around the edge, walk right up the stairs, and if cops who were there, boom, boom, walk right one more stairway up, and you're right in the middle of, all of us.
Right.
So that's not that's awful. That's awful to think about. So
it is. And again,
you think more people are going to have this discussion? I mean, we're talking about it in a different way. I mean, everyone wants to ban guns. We're sort of like not saying
everyone wants to ban guns.
NRA does not, obviously.
Well, we'll find out. We're recording this on Thursday night, but Friday, tomorrow, the 21st, the NRA is having their big press conference.
Well, what do you think? What do you think they're going to do? I mean, this is our crystal ball right here, by the way, our glasses. All right, you've looked in your crystal ball. What do you think they're going to do, NRA?
I don't know. It's a tough discussion.
Do you think they're going to ban any guns at all?
I think that they're going to really talk about the people that are using the guns.
They're going to talk about mental illness.
Mental illness,
How to secure your gun.
We have to be stronger on who gets to the guns, There's a lot of things. Now, again,
If
As
you
much as
use
I've
what's in-
always said, I don't want to be giving my opinions, but it's kind of hard in this discussion
No, I'm
not to.
asking you your opinion.
There are people out there who really believe that the freedom, Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is extremely important. And it's the second one right after freedom of speech. Okay? And the reason is that if you get a rogue government, okay, that want to really knuckle down and go the wrong way.
Then that's why it was written.
Exactly.
You have the right to bear arms, to take over.
Right, to defend.
To take these automatic weapons away. I mean, I don't think people think it in those terms,
No, but some of the discussion, because I've been having some friendly discussions on Facebook and other places, and some people say, well, the founding fathers, it was muskets back then, They didn't envision semi-automatics and automatics.
No,
and
but if
stuff
they
like
were
that.
there, they certainly would use them.
Yes, that's my point.
That's
is
war.
That, it was to balance the people versus a rogue government, okay? So if the rogue government has all of this, you should be allowed to have this.
But
now, I'm not saying we should have, bazookas
handheld
and
missile
right.
launches. Okay, but
Yeah.
I think I think the Second Amendment is exactly that. So when I hear people say, well, they have these automatic assault rifles, they're going out and hunting, and then they have these armor-piercing bullets. Those are just for killing. So when you go out, why would you need that to hunt with? But what you just said is factual. That is the Second Amendment, is that if there is a rogue government or you believe that should be overthrown or the majority or lot, you have your weapons to do that.
Right, to defend yourself.
To defend yourself. So get the deer hunting out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, nobody goes out with a semi-automatic.
It's an idiot.
Right.
Okay, it's an idiot who would do that.
Right. Right. And, again, no matter whether, and my wife and I have had this discussion, and we're finally talking to each other again.
Oh, right.
Because she's on the other side. The first night or two was really pretty rough. But, if you're going to outlaw guns, and this is not meant to be insensitive at all, because I got to tell you, I've cried many a tear since Friday for those people.
I know you're that sensitive, too.
My daughter and son-in-law work in an inner-city school in Manchester, and he's in charge of the emotionally handicapped kids.
Whoa.
And these are the kids that do come with knives and whatnot, and we're talking 7th, 8th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. So when that happened, the first thing I thought about was, that's something that would have happened in an inner-city school. Not this first grade classroom in this nice town, and that really scared me even more. But if we're going to talk about banning guns because of these horrendous tragedies, and I don't mean it to sound like what I'm going to say, but
go ahead.
that are few and far between. I agree. One is too many, okay? But compare it to, and I compared the numbers, to how many car accident deaths there are in the country. It's like 600,000 a year. This was for 2010. The number of drunk driving deaths out of those 600,000 was, I want to say it was 32,000. Now, what I really felt good about in doing the research for this was that drunk driving deaths have been going down.
Down, right.
They're still way too high, 32,000 people. But you get all the way down to murder, murder by guns, and I should check my facts because I'm always saying
I know.
you should, but
Yeah.
murder by guns was like 8,800. Okay, now you're talking about all murders with guns. I mean, criminals that are killing criminals, gang fights, all of that.
So what you're saying?
So my point is that if you're going to ban all guns or ban guns because of that, why are we letting cars and alcohol run rampant and killing people?
I hear you, and I can understand if you do the numbers, it's a lot safer to possess a gun than it is to, drink and drive.
Right.
I can understand that, but let us come back a little.
Right. So
All right.
so my whole point is that let's not be looking at the guns. Let's look at the people, and let's try and figure out what is driving these people to do this.
Men.
And let's work. Majority men. Yes.
Majority of the men.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it that do we possess some sort of a gene?
I mean, I don't want to give my wife any.
Oh God! Here we go. Don't do it, Richard. Whatever you do.
No, but women tend to be more compassionate than men.
Oh, he did that so
Yeah.
well. More compassionate. I would agree to that.
I mean,
There is a masculinity and there's a femininity. There's
Yeah.
no question about that.
I mean, I'd like to know how many women hunt compared to how many men hunt.
And it depends. Yes. Okay.
Because,
Depends on what part of the country also.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, countrywide, nationwide.
How many women in the military? How many women? Just recently, within the last 6 or 7 years, women have been in combat and have been killed.
Right.
For the hundreds of wars we've had, that's certainly not many. But these women want to go.
Yeah.
Helicopter pilots.
Right. Right.
But there is something about that male gene we've got to look into. Now, I have a question. We have about probably 8 more minutes. Did you think the conversation was going to go like this?
I knew it would probably end up somewhere I didn't want to go.
Well,
But once you start talking, and you know what? This is what I tell everybody that comes in that I try and recruit. Okay? I use all the shows that are done here. I use the guests as potential recruits to do their own show. And a lot of people, are nervous. Oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that, And then they come on the show as somebody's guest, and they see that there's nothing to it. You start talking, and you forget that there's cameras over here.
Yeah, but it's easier to be a guest than as many times to be a host.
Oh no,
The
I
host
agree.
has got to keep it interesting.
Right, but out of the 100 people that I talk to that have been guests, okay,
Yeah.
if I get 10%,
Oh.
if I get 10 new hosts,
Yeah.
and out of those 10, if really 5 work out, or
And what is
do
the
it.
average of people lasting a year?
Put it this way, here at Access Nashua, the people that started and got into the routine of doing it have all stayed. Getting people to start and then come back.
And then keeping them going for the
Keeping
first
them going.
8 weeks really is the.
Yeah, usually either you're gonna do it or you try it, and I'm gonna say like probably 30% that try it or come in and talk about it, and we do the groundwork, and then they never go forward.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what. If they want to come in, they'll obviously talk to you. If
Right.
they want to sit down with me, I can help them I mean, I don't have to be on their show, but I can help them with a show, how to go about getting the questions or the guests, et cetera. Because once you get going, as you said, so we've made the big circle.
Yeah.
Last year, the first show was with Bernie Street, the former mayor, and myself. You were there on the first show. And what you're saying is if you'd like to do a show, come in.
Oh, yeah.
You will help them. I will help them.
Yeah, plus we have...
And you can talk about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, public access is your soapbox. It's a chance where, you know, you can come in, and I got to tell you, for the 18 years I've been doing it, the way I've always hooked people to do shows is, what are you interested in? You know, what's your hobby? What do you like doing? Well, you know, I like photography or, you know, this or that. Hey, why not come in, do a photography show? Bring some photographers in, bring some amateur photographers, come in, talk to them, talk about tips and tricks of, you know, whatnot.
But you have enough political shows, I take it. You could always use another political show, but I think you.
Well, see, the thing with public access is I don't determine what the shows are. It's whatever the person wants to do. And
they can borrow cameras, take the camera.
Yeah, the public can come in, get some training, sign out equipment, do some field footage and everything. You know, we do the cooking Silver Skillet.
Silver Skillet,
which is starting up again in January.
Yep.
And we do that over at GM Roth. They've been very kind to let us use. They have a full working kitchen in their showroom.
Yep.
And it's a nice kitchen.
So you can do cooking shows.
So we do cooking shows there. We have a team of videographers that handle the cooking shows. We have a garden show that actually aired this past week, which will start up again in the spring.
Yeah.
Where they go out. There's a team of them. They go out and they interview people about their gardens and how to do this and that.
There's a whole group of things. But let me just stop you for a second because time is almost over.
I don't care about time.
Well, yeah, you do.
I'm a guest now.
Because you cut me out. But I want to thank you because you've been a big help. I don't think people understand all this right here and you know, getting on camera and getting out there and setting up times and, you know, the cutting of this. This is not easy. And you've been very patient with me. I mean, I've been a little kind of weird, and we've had our moments. But all in all, I got to tell you, I think Nashua was very, very lucky. I think Donnelly Lozo, you know, getting the budget back, and I think more of the aldermen are looking at it positively. The state representatives like myself are certainly looking at it positively. But I want to shake your hand, and I want to thank you for one full year, and I want to thank you for everyone because it's a very difficult job. I don't think people understand it. We had problems with getting our mics on. I mean, it sounds really bizarre, but that's the way it is. Thank you, Richard.
And just to let you know, it's not a job.
It's not a job.
I play.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
I come here and play.
All right, well, this has been Gidge World, and we've been with, as you can tell, so see you next time.